to have senior government officials who have used drugs? It's up to you.
Then Bush.
Bush created Noriega in Panama. Then he got out of control, and Americans had to fight and die to take him out.
It was just 1 week ago that Perot raised public doubts by making allegations he refused to prove about Republican dirty tricks. In California, he leveled a new charge.
Do you understand that the Democrats and Republicans pay people to come to their rallies? And don't you find it interesting that everybody in the press knows that and you and I don't read it in the paper every time they have a rally? Fascinating.
Later, at a brief news conference, a tired and testy Perot refused to back up his statement.
Jeez, look, I'm too old and too tired to put up with this kind of little ping-pong stuff.
Perot's strategy from here on out appears to be to take out his six-shooter and fire at everybody from the media to his opponents. And at least his opponents aren't firing back for fear of alienating any wavering Perot supporters who might cast their ballots their way. Mike?
It seems to be an interesting shift in the last day, though, because he's been firing away at Mr. Bush fairly regularly, but he hasn't gone after Governor Clinton on the character issue all that strongly before, has he?
No, he hasn't, and he made this first mention about drug use in his 30-minute commercials that aired last night and will air again tonight. He really aims hard at Clinton and spends most of the time attacking Clinton's record in Arkansas, and he'll repeat those programs tonight and in effect get the last word by buying time late at night.
Okay, Linda, thanks very much. Linda Patillo, live for us this morning in San Francisco. Finally, big sports story to tell you about. More on the subject of long-distance races. The New York Marathon has been dominated by foreign runners in recent years, and the trend did continue yesterday. As usual, the largest field in marathon racing, over 25,000 runners running over 26 miles. And it was the South African Willie Matolo. In his first big marathon, he was the winner. 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 29 seconds. Fast time. And on the women's side, Lisa Andieki of Australia ran the fastest New York Marathon for a woman ever. 2 hours, 24 minutes, and 40 seconds. That is the news and the sports till now. It's time to check in with Charlie and Spencer.
Thanks very much, Mike. There were also some football games yesterday. I'm glad you did mention them.
Both New York teams won, and I attended one of those games, the Jets beating the Dolphins. And what happened to the Redskins?
They had a bye week. Now, Election Day coming up. What kind of weather will people expect? Actually, weather's going to be rather inclement over the Rocky Mountain states, and it'll be raining and cloudy over much of the northeast, although rain will be tapering off by midday on Election Day. We have some special maps for you at 8 o'clock to give you the Election Day forecast. Okay. Right now, we'll show you satellite movement of weather systems. During the overnight hours, you can see a huge winter-like storm here. This one came down out of the Rockies over the weekend, pushing up into the northern plains and upper Mississippi Valley overnight, dumped substantial snowfall over parts of the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa. This is going to be a big storm maker for today, and rain pushing into much of the eastern states. And here comes yet the development of another winter-like storm over the northern Rockies. Now let's talk about this storm in the upper Midwest today and the kind of weather it's going to produce. Major snowstorm here. Look for possibly a foot of snow accumulation in this area from International Falls down to Minneapolis and over to Sioux Falls. Anywhere from 8 to 11 to about 13 inches of snow, blowing and drifting snow, winds gusting over 40 miles per hour. Road travel will be treacherous. Thunder and lightning will be features in this snowstorm today. So winter has arrived a bit early in that part of the country. Here's the development of that second storm over the northern Rockies. Look for snow, heavy at times in the higher elevations and down to the mid-elevations as well. Rainfall down in the valleys. The southwestern states will be sunny. The central and southern plains and lower Mississippi Valley sunny. Rainy up and down much of the Atlantic coast, especially heavy in the mid-Atlantic states and then southward into the southeast. That's a look at the national weather picture. Here's a look at the weather where you are.
Good Monday morning, everybody. I'm Channel 5 meteorologist Rick Mitchell. An inclement weather weekend and more of it on the way thanks to an area of low pressure that is moving across the state today. Heavy snow will fall across Minnesota. For us, the rain and drizzle changing over to a little bit of light snow, but ground temperatures are warm enough that we shouldn't see accumulations. Temperatures starting the day in the 40s, falling to the 30s. The 5-cast, rain and drizzle mixing with snow today, a high of 43, falling temps this afternoon.
We'll have more on Election Eve weather in the next half hour. Joan?
All right, thank you very much, Spencer. Right now, 11 minutes after, and the clock is ticking in the final 24 hours before the election. President Bush, Governor Clinton, and Ross Perot will be stumping in crucial states. for a quick look at their countdown strategy. We hope that Tori Clark is going to be with us for the press secretary for the Bush Quail campaign. She's in Short Hills, New Jersey. Sharon Holman, press secretary for Ross Perot, is joining us from WFAA in Dallas. We hope Dee Dee Myers is going to be joining us. She is the press secretary for the Clinton Gore ticket. There's a transportation problem where she is in Philadelphia. Hasn't gotten to us yet. We hope she'll be there. But let's start with Tori Clark, press secretary for the Bush Quail campaign. Tori, what is going to be on the president's agenda during these last crucial hours?
The last crucial hours will be filled with us crisscrossing the country and driving home the message that the president is the only candidate with the record, the qualifications, and the right agenda to move this country forward. We will also continue to point out that Bill Clinton is wrong for the country. Here is a man who probably couldn't get confirmed by the Senate for a cabinet position. He certainly shouldn't be president of the United States.
Tori, tonight, election eve, the other two candidates are making half-hour television appeals. Why isn't President Bush doing that as well?
Well, anyone who thinks that you do things the same old traditional way in 1992 just doesn't know what the year is all about. We have found that getting the president to as many different places in the country as possible is very effective, doing scores of local affiliate interviews across the country, and the candidates this evening, Clinton and Perot, will be spending those half-hour blocks trying to make the American people comfortable with their candidates. The American people are already very comfortable with the president, and we found that our 2-minute ads, which are saturating the airwaves, laying out the president's agenda and what he wants to do in his second term, are very effective.
He, of course, has been behind in some of the important battlegrounds. Where can he pick up those electoral votes that he needs?
He's been behind, but what's been important is in the last couple of weeks, we've shown really rapid progress, and the gap has closed. I think your network is calling the race nationwide a statistical dead heat. And look where we are today. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, Wisconsin yesterday. These are the battleground states. Going today is over 100 electoral votes, and we're making a lot of progress, and we're confident they'll be in our column by tomorrow night.
All right, you're going to go to Glen Olden, Pennsylvania, I know. Then where do you go from there?
Pennsylvania, then we go to Ohio, then we go to Kentucky, Louisiana, and end up in Houston, Texas this evening.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go now to Sharon Holman for the Ross Perot campaign. Ross Perot is really not traveling outside of Dallas, as I understand it, not going out campaigning like the other candidates. What is he going to be doing to pick up those votes he needs?
Well, Joan, we have just returned from a really exciting weekend, beginning in Tampa, Florida, and then Kansas City, Long Beach, and Santa Clara, California. So we've had wonderful rallies with tremendous crowds. We're wrapping up today in Texas, back home, at Reunion Arena here in Dallas at 12 noon Central Time, and looking forward then to reaching millions of people on television this evening on your network at 8 o'clock this evening Eastern.
Sharon, I heard Ross Perot say he's going to win in all 50 states. Is the campaign still sticking to that?
Absolutely. That's our goal, and that's what the volunteers intend to do.
Conventional wisdom says, though, that at the last minute a lot of voters will, desert a third-party candidate and go with one of the other two. How will you keep those voters from straying?
I think, Joan, that the polls that we've seen and conventional wisdom does not work this election year because there are so many newly registered voters, and Ross Perot has empowered so many voters this year. Those are the ones that are going to make the difference in the polls this year.
All right, let me speak for Dee Dee Myers now, who was not able to join us this morning from the Clinton Gore ticket. It is an unbelievable the last few hours that they are going to have, hitting 8 states, 9 cities. They will not stop for 28 hours. They plan to rack up 4,106 miles of travel. Agenda includes Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Cleveland, Ohio, Romulus, Michigan, St. Louis, Missouri, Paducah, Kentucky, McAllen, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Denver, Colorado, and finally Little Rock, Arkansas. And except for Pennsylvania, where there will be a diner, all of those stops are at airports. So quite a few plans for these last few hours. Thank you all very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
What difference can a day make? Well, we'll find out what is in store for the candidate's final lap when Good Morning America continues.
You'll find terrific savings this week at Walgreens.
Monistat 7 is on sale. Cream or inserts just $14.99. They're $11.99 after rebate. Carefree Panty Shields are only $1.29. They're free after rebate.
Auto-inflate or finger digital blood pressure monitors. Your choice, just $59.99. And save over 40% on personal optics reader glasses. Full or half frame, even bifocals of $14 value, now only $7.99.
For the best values, hurry to Walgreens.
So I hear you made an investment.
Yeah, I got a computer.
You don't come to me for a loan.
I didn't need one.
What do you mean you don't need a loan, huh?
Well, Best Buy has this financing thing where I got a computer, but without the interest.
No interest. No interest.
Get 0% financing for 6 months. No payments, no interest on any computer at Best Buy. Like this Packard Bell 486SX with 170 meg hard drive, 4 meg memory, monitor, printer, and more, all for just $17.68.
It was an offer I couldn't refuse.
If you're in the market for a computer, there's a lot of options available these days. If you want performance, reliability, and value, well, the selection is slightly more limited. How about America-made components from an Iowa-based company, plus service and support before, during, and after the sale? Let's say you want it all. In that case, there's really only one choice. Larson Systems, 113 Welch Avenue, Ames.
The way to end the gridlocks is get rid of those who control the Congress.
The Democrats have controlled Congress for 38 years.
It can't have changed with 38 years of a Democratic-controlled House of Representatives.
I'm not real happy with the Democrat-controlled Congress.
The Democrats control every committee in Congress.
The Democrats have been controlling all the committees, and
people that make the mess can't clean it up. It's time for change.
Congress has been controlled by the wrong people for a long time.
Want real change? This year, vote Republican.
America's first voters in the town of Dixville Notch, New Hampshire, in our next half hour.
18 minutes after the hour, Joan was talking about the way the candidates prepare for their final hours of whirlwind campaigning, and we thought we'd check in one last time before the election with two of our political regulars to help analyze the end game plans. Babe Buchanan managed her brother Pat's campaign for the Republican presidential nomination earlier this year, and Democrat Susan Estridge managed the Dukakis campaign for president in 1988, and both are joining us this morning from Los Angeles. Good to see you both again. Good morning. Babe, let me start with you. The last tracking poll that we have from ABC says Clinton 42%, Bush 37%, Perot 17%. Is the president's surge over?
It doesn't look good, Charlie. There's no question about that. The polls are moving away. However, I don't think the most surprising thing to happen in this election year would be a Bush victory. We've seen a lot of things happen out there in this past 12 months. And I think also the key here is there's a lot of Perot vote out there in a lot of those states, some as much as 20%. We'll have to see which way that breaks. I don't think it'll all go to Perot. Some of it could come home to the president and turn things around.
Bay, a moment ago, Torrey Clark was talking about the key states, Michigan, Ohio, New Jersey, Wisconsin, Florida, Texas. Does the president, to make this thing break his way, does the president have to carry every one of those?
Almost everyone. The problem here really is, Charlie, is that the president has to win almost all the close ones. Clinton does have quite a few electoral votes that look pretty sure, but the president can do it if he does carry most every one of them. I think he might be able to drop one of them and pick up a surprise state here or there, but there's not a lot of movement here. He really can't miss a beat.
Susan, do you think this thing's over?
Well, we never say it's over till it's over, Charlie, and it has been an unpredictable year, but I sure would rather be in Bill Clinton's shoes today than in George Bush's or Ross Perot's. I mean, he's starting with a pretty firm electoral base, around 237 votes, which means, as Bay acknowledges, that George Bush has got to win basically everything that's up for grabs. And if we look at the polls just over the last few days, I think the president's surge has ended. The momentum is on Clinton's side, and he's beginning to open up leads in key states where George Bush is going back, as we heard, to Louisiana and Kentucky, still firming up his own base.
So those states that we mentioned a moment ago and that Clinton is hopscotching today, you think he'll win his share?
I think he'll win most of them. I think things are looking very good for Bill Clinton in Michigan. I think they're looking very good in New Jersey. I think Pennsylvania looks very good. Illinois looks very good. And remember, Bill Clinton doesn't have to win all of them. George Bush does.
Well, then, Susan, if you're saying he's going to win the majority of them, you're talking about an electoral landslide.
Well, you know, we saw 4 years ago, I saw it very painfully, Charlie, that a 6 or 7 point election can turn into an electoral landslide. I think we're probably looking at a 5 to 7 point election on Tuesday night, and Bill Clinton, I think, will comfortably win in the Electoral College, maybe 340 electoral votes, just being conservative. So it's not going to be a total wipeout for the president as it looked maybe 2 weeks ago, but it's going to be a tough night.
All right, let me take a minute with each of you and sum up the candidate and his campaign in your party. Bay, your overall assessment of the president's campaign.
Well, I think it was rather weak. It wasn't real defined in those early days of September, even into October. I think sometime in the middle of October, maybe a week before those debates, he started to focus on what the key issues of that campaign were and started to hammer them. He set the stage for the debates, and I think he moved out of them being very, very strong. We lost some momentum, I think, about Friday with these with some of the things that were out of his control, the news stories on Weinberger, for instance, a little bit out of his control, but he's very enthusiastic, and he's done a heck of a job these last 3 or 4 weeks. So I wouldn't, I have to give him a great deal of credit. He showed a lot of energy and
heck of a job in 3 or 4 weeks, but should it have started earlier?
Well, it's unfortunate. He should have done a great deal of groundwork in September. You know, you start setting the stage, you decide what the issues are, and you stay with them and see how they work. He really did not decide what it was that his focus, what were his issues. And he bounced around and really allowed Clinton to hold that 20-point lead, or at least 15 to 20-point lead, a little too long.
And Susan, your estimation and your assessment, final assessment of the Clinton campaign?
Oh, listen, I give them enormous credit. This guy took more body blows than any presidential candidate I've seen in my lifetime, and he's emerged and he's going to win this election, which I think is the definition of a strong campaign. But it is an unstable electorate out there, and I think, frankly, there are a lot of Americans who don't know Bill Clinton that well and aren't really sure where he's going to take the country. That's why I think Bush was able to surge in these last 2 weeks. So they've still got their work cut out for him starting Wednesday morning.
If he wins, does he have a mandate, given the fact people are so uncertain about him?
I think he's got a mandate to change this country, change the economy, and not be George Bush, but lots of questions still.
All right, Susan, Babe, thank you both for being with us. Good to see you again.
If you hold your nose, you can't really taste things because your sense of smell is so important to taste. That's why great aroma is so important to Folgers. Here, smell for yourself. Come on, it's new TV technology. You smell that? They use aroma-roasted mountain-grown beans, then they specially grind them. No wonder people like Folgers better than this other coffee. No contest.
Folgers, aroma so rich, you can taste it.
This year, one congressman has led the Iowa delegation in a number of important areas. Jim Ross Lightfoot spent more tax dollars on his office expenses than any other Iowa congressman. Jim Ross Lightfoot spent $239,000 tax dollars on mailings, worse than any other Iowa congressman. Jim Ross Lightfoot bounced 100 more checks than any other Iowa congressman. Jim Ross Lightfoot is a leader. It's just in the wrong direction.
Fixing lunch is one of the joys of motherhood.
Peanut butter again?
It's a thankless job.
Egg salad? Isn't this your doggy bag from last night?
You're always pressed for time.
Are you mad at me?
Thank goodness for Lunchables from Oscar Mayer. Their best meats, cheeses, crackers, even dessert. Best of all, kids love them.
Thanks, Mom.
Lunchables from Oscar Mayer. Nothing but the best.
For less than the price of many sweaters, you can own a Foreman & Clark sport coat. Each Foreman & Clark store has hundreds of blazers in a wide assortment of colors for less than $100. At Foreman & Clark, the sport coat you choose will be expertly altered. Plus, Foreman & Clark will coordinate your sport coat with slacks, dress shirt, silk tie, and belt. 5 items for under $180, including free alterations. Of course, if you still want a sweater, Foreman & Clark will be happy to sell you one of those, too.
This is a Channel 5 News Update.
Good morning, 7:25 right now. I'm Renee Starzyk. With the election less than 24 hours away now, the candidates are making every effort to win your vote. Today, Barbara Bush continues her visit to Des Moines. She'll take a tour of a city neighborhood and hand out campaign literature. As Julian Jordan tells us, the First Lady arrived in Des Moines last night to a very warm welcome.
First Lady Barbara Bush was warmly received by several hundred Bush Quayle supporters. She spoke highly of her husband and his successes in the White House.
It's the most fun in the world when you go around the country campaigning for the most decent, honest, able, capable, finest, funniest, most honorable man in the world, George Bush.
The First Lady compared George Bush's America to Bill Clinton's Arkansas.
George Bush's America has a new Clean Air Act that protects the environment without sacrificing jobs. Bill Clinton's Arkansas ranks dead last in environmental protection. George Bush's America has a new civil rights law that protects the rights of everyone in the workplace without quotas. Bill Clinton's Arkansas is one of the 2 states in the country with no civil rights laws at all.
Bush supporters say they're thrilled to hear the First Lady speak.
I was very happy to listen to her. I think that she's a great person, and I was happy to be able to shake hands with her today.
I thought she was awesome. She really did a lot for President Bush, and I think that he's going to go all the way.
Julene Jordan, Channel 5 News.
Though polls show Bill Clinton leading here in Iowa, the Democrats are not taking anything for granted. Clinton's running mate Al Gore and his wife Tipper will stop in Waterloo tonight. The couple's expected to arrive at the airport about 8:30, where they'll attend a rally. That event is open to the public. When you go to cast your vote tomorrow, you may get some words of advice from pro-ERA volunteers. Around 300 ERA supporters attended a training session yesterday to show Iowans where to find Amendment 1 on their ballot forms. They'll be outside polling locations, reminding voters to vote yes for equality of women.
The smear and fear tactics of the opponents to Amendment 1 are on television constantly. We know that Iowans want equality for women. We want to be out there to remind them to add women to the Constitution. We're going to be working right up until the polls close on Election Day.
Kathy Spillar says there will be more than 2,000 workers in front of polling sites all across the state tomorrow. Well, Rick is here right now, and the Election Day 5-cast isn't looking too good.
Well, today's 5-cast, not either. We have snow moving across the state. Light snow. Will it get in here? Stay with us. I'll have the 5-cast.
Before you vote, remember the record. Every year for the past 12 years, the Republicans tried to cut Medicare, and in 9 of those years, they've done it. And this year, they've proposed a plan that could lower benefits for nearly 30 million older Americans and virtually eliminate compensation for over 1 million disabled veterans. Medicare cuts, health care crisis, the worst economic record since the Great Depression. Senior citizens know better than anyone. It's time for a change, and that's what the new Democrats are fighting for: Social Security and quality, affordable health care.
Well, it doesn't look too different out there this morning than it did yesterday. Plenty of rain and drizzle in central Iowa, 39 degrees in Des Moines, 37 in Ames. The winds are from the northwest at 15, 96% humidity, and the pressure 29, 21, and rising. Light snow this morning occurring in Omaha and Sioux City, also Glidden and Carroll, and it's spreading in our direction. Storm system moving off to the northeast will bring heavy snow to Minnesota. It's also going to work some colder air in here so that our rain and drizzle will change over to a little bit of light snow. But don't worry, the ground is still relatively warm, and I'm not anticipating any accumulations. High temperatures starting near 40 this morning, but as the colder air works in, temperatures will fall this afternoon into the 30s, so be prepared for that. The 5-cast for today for Des Moines, rain and drizzle, mixing with a little bit of light snow. A high temperature, well, we've already reached our high. Temperatures will be falling into the 30s as the day progresses. Winds will be from the northwest, 15 to 25. Cloudy tonight with light snow or flurries, a low of 30. And for Election Day, as Renee was saying, it looks ugly. Cloudy and cold, a few flurries possible. No big deal, though. A high of only 36. By midweek, we will have another chance for light snow, 32 to 36. And Thursday, mostly cloudy. Again, 32 to 36. Normal high temperature is about 56. So we're going to stay well below normal this week.
Wow, but we don't need the shovels just yet.
Not just yet.
Well, that's it for us. We'll see you back here at 8:25.
Take care.
You're watching Channel 5.
Jordan Foley. We're from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Good morning, America! Yay!
Good morning, everyone. I'm Joan Lunden.
And I'm Charles Gibson. Good to have you with us on Monday, November 2nd. One more day to go.
The day before, that's right. And this morning, 2 very different places we'll be visiting, getting ready for tomorrow's vote. We're going to start in tiny Dickville Notch, New Hampshire, where citizens will actually be the first in the country to cast their Election Day votes. And then we'll move on to the biggest election jurisdiction in the country, and that happens to be Los Angeles County.
Is it just my impression, or has this election been going on for the last 71 years?
I think so.
Also this morning, you know, we talk about the polls, and obviously those just reflect the popular vote, but the critical thing is the electoral vote. And we're going to check as to how the candidates stand in the electoral vote. As you were listening to Babe Buchanan and Susan Estridge in our last half hour, the president has a daunting task. If he's going to win 270 electoral votes, has to win all of the key states, and we'll run down where each of the candidates stand in the electoral vote situation, or at least as they're projected. But right now we go to Mike Schneider, who's standing by with the news. Mike?
Thank you, Charlie. Morning, everybody. It's almost over, but it's never been more intense than it is this morning. The last day of the 1992 presidential campaign is a travel agent's dream, or nightmare, I guess. The candidates are all over the place this morning. George Bush trying to save his presidency, starting out in New Jersey, then hitting Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kentucky, and Louisiana before winding things up tonight in his adopted hometown of Houston. Governor Clinton plans to pull an all-nighter, we're told. He'll be campaigning this morning in Philadelphia, then on to Ohio, Michigan, Missouri, Kentucky, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and finally, sometime early tomorrow morning, back home in Little Rock, Arkansas. And Ross Perot will be rallying his troops in Dallas and be back on TV tonight with another infomercial. Both President Bush and Ross Perot have made Arkansas a target in this campaign. They claim that Bill Clinton's record as governor of such a small, poor state is no evidence that he could govern such a big country. But how do the people in Arkansas feel about having their native son so close to winning the White House? ABC's Mike Von Fremd reports.
In 1990, Bill Clinton promised the people of Arkansas that if they returned him to the governor's mansion for a record fifth term, he would not use it as a springboard for the White House.
I have no intention of doing that. I can't imagine how it would even be conceivable.
You said he would be governor through his term, and he didn't do it.
The reason I believe that Governor Clinton was running for president in 1992 is because I don't think Governor Clinton could be reelected governor in 1994.
I feel that he broke his promise, if for no other reason that a man's only as good as his word. But with the same token, I can see the other side, that if you have a chance for a better job, why shouldn't you take it?
And that seems to be the sentiment of most of the people here, that if he wins, they're not losing a governor, but gaining a president.
You can't really hold somebody to a commitment, especially when they have a dream, and I think that's basically what he's doing right now.
And in Little Rock, satellite trucks are being squeezed onto the streets as people here are counting on dreams becoming a reality. This town of 175,000 is getting ready to strut its stuff. And one of the more pleasant logistical problems Bill Clinton will face should he win is where he'll live. He's been residing in public housing here at the governor's mansion for much of his adult life. If he wins, the lieutenant governor will move in, and Bill Clinton won't get the keys to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue for more than 2 months. Mike Von Fremd, ABC News, Little Rock.
The movers will get the word sometime tomorrow, one way or the other. Meantime, a controversial campaign commercial is making news coming out of Georgia. It is an ad that a Republican running for Congress wanted to run in Atlanta after last night's Falcons football game. This commercial included pictures of an actual abortion, and a TV station went to court to keep Daniel Becker's commercial out of prime time. Yesterday, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy sided with the television station, and the ad did not run. Finally, the shuttle Columbia landed safely at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida on Sunday morning. Smooth landing ended a mission that had very few problems. The astronauts put that laser satellite into orbit. That's the one that will watch the continental drift and try to help in the prediction, perhaps, of earthquakes. Early next month, another shuttle going up, this time Discovery, and it will be carrying some sort of secret Pentagon satellite. That's the news till now. Spencer Christian, who's made no secret about his weather accuracy, is here to share his knowledge one more time.
We'll show it to all, Mike. We'll take a look by way of radar at weather activity during the early morning hours. Just a few hours ago, you can see rather heavy thunderstorm activity here in the lower Mississippi Valley, down along the Gulf Coast. Much of this has moved northward a bit and eastward a bit since this radar view was taken. And in the upper Midwest here, you see lots of activity going on. Some of this is rain, but mostly snow, especially in the northernmost reaches from Iowa up into southern Minnesota and moving out of eastern South Dakota. Heavy snow is falling there. And the outlook for today calls for heavy snow to continue falling in the upper Mississippi Valley and parts of the northern plains as well. In fact, eastern North and South Dakota could see heavy snow. Much of Minnesota and northern Iowa will see heavy snow. Some of these locations could see up to a foot of accumulation or more over the next 24 hours. East of that snow area will be rainfall over the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley. Heavy rain is expected from the mid-Atlantic states down into the southeast. Then sunny and mild weather from the lower Mississippi Valley out to the southwest, and a new snowstorm is developing in the northern Rockies. High temperatures in the north-central states today will reach only into the 30s generally. The only mild weather will be across the extreme southern states, highs generally in the 70s there. That's a look at the national weather. Here's a look at the weather where you are. Good morning, everyone. Channel 5's Rick Mitchell with your Monday Morning 5cast. We will have periods of rain and drizzle, gradually changing to a little bit of light snow. Temperatures starting out near 40 this morning, but falling into the 30s this afternoon.
This weather report has been brought to you by Visa. It's now 36 past the hour, hunkering down for the big day. How election officials make your vote count when Good Morning America continues.
Just a hoot and a holler from Nashville's Grand Ole Opry is another place that's home to musicians from all over the world. It's Groon Guitars, where they sell rare and vintage instruments to everyone from Johnny Cash to Motley Crue. So if you go, remember, bring your pick and your Visa card. Because at Groon, you can take your licks on a 1939 Martin, but you can't take it home with American Express. Yeah. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
At Easy Spirit, we've made high heels that are as comfortable as sneakers. So just imagine what we can do for a casual shoe. Easy Spirit Casuals. There really is a sneaker inside every shoe.
This is it, the last week to call Nutrisystem and lose all the weight you can by Thanksgiving for free. I'm Lonnie Daniels, and now's your chance to make this Thanksgiving a real celebration. Just one call today, and by Thanksgiving, be well on your way to getting rid of those extra pounds. Let Nutrisystem help you. Just call. And this Thanksgiving, while you're trimming the turkey, you can be looking pretty trim yourself. Lose all the weight you can for free by Thanksgiving. Pay only for Nutrisystem meals. Call 1-800-321-THIN now.
Ultima is color. Bold, expressive, provocative color. And Ultima is the naked's neutral, timeless, sensuous color. For lips, eyes, face, and cheeks. In every shade of gorgeous. Ultima 2. Color Attitudes, a $70 value is your 6-piece gift with any 1250 Ultima 2 purchase at JCPenney.
These are Jimmy Dean flapsticks. They taste wonderful, the hardest thing I ever tried to explain in my life. Take Jimmy Dean sausage, wrap a nice pancake around it, put a handle on it. You understand that? You do. Try it. Taste that country goodness.
22 minutes now before 8 o'clock. At midnight tonight, the 30 registered voters of Dixville Notch, New Hampshire will proudly cast their ballots in the 1992 presidential election. Meanwhile, across the country, Los Angeles County is gearing up for the election. Dixville Notch counts their votes in ones and twos. In Los Angeles County, they count them in the millions in that jurisdiction. Those two places couldn't be more different. And yet tomorrow, they'll both be a part of election history as the first and the biggest voting districts in the land. Joining us from the ballot room of the Balsam's Grand Hotel in Dixville Notch is Tom Tillotson, the town clerk. His counterpart in Los Angeles County is Charles Weisbird, Register, Recorder, County Clerk. He's joining us from the headquarters of the Polls Division in the City of Commerce. I thank you both for being with us. Tom Tillotson, let me start with you. You have 30 voters. Do they all vote, or do you have some absentee?
We'll have a few absentees. It's vacation time up here, and a few people are away, so we have to track them down and get absentee ballots to them.
Right, but all those who are going to vote, they actually show up at midnight?
All 19 of them.
19 will actually show up, okay.
Will actually show up here at midnight.
And how many polling places, polling booths do you have for them?
Exactly 19.
Everybody has their own, huh?
Yes.
That's how you get it done so quickly?
Efficiency is our aim in this election. Yes, that's how it's so fast.
Andy Warhol used to talk about 15 minutes of fame. Dixville Notch, it's their one moment of fame every 4 years on Election Day, right?
Yeah, it's more like 15 seconds.
Any doubt who's going to win in Dixville Notch?
I think I wouldn't dare to predict it right at the moment.
Well, the Republicans usually win up there, don't they?
Generally, I would expect this election to go for Bush.
And does that give him any momentum nationwide?
Well, we may give him momentum, but it's going to be up to him from here up there on out.
He'll just have to do it himself, huh?
Yes, that's all we can do.
All right, Mr. Weisbird, let me ask you. Now, Tom has 30 voters. How many do you have?
We have 3,750,000.
3.7 million. What percentage of the national vote is that?
That's about 3% of the vote for president.
3% in the one area. Now, he was mentioning that he has 19 booths and 30 voters. How many, and one polling place. How many polling places actually exist in your jurisdiction?
We have 6,000 polling places,
And how many?
And we have 50,000 booths.
50,000 booths. Now, you actually don't use voting machines, as I understand it. Is that right?
No, we use a vote recording device.
What does that mean?
Let me show you.
Yeah.
It's a simple device, of which we have 50,000, and we use a punch card, IBM punch card.
Right.
A person goes into the voting booth, punches out their candidates or measures, and when they get through, they take out their ballot card.
Oh, pushing those holes that you just did makes holes in that card that you've got.
Correct.
Right.
And the cards show the holes here, and the ballots are deposited in the ballot boxes, and that's what we count on election night.
Now, so they all have to be counted by computer, or by, yes, by computer, I would suppose.
By computer, correct.
Yeah. And how long does that take for 3.7 million voters?
About 3 to 4 hours.
So Dixville Notch comes in with their vote about 10 minutes after it's cast, and it takes you a few hours to do.
About 2 o'clock in the next morning.
All right. So tell me, each of you, is sort of interesting, since you're all part of what is a magnificent national process, and yet it's all over so fast. And what happens to Dixville Notch on Wednesday, Mr. Tillotson, after your 15 seconds of fame?
We go back to being a small town in the mountains in Dixville, in New Hampshire. Having participated once again in the election, and as you say, it's another 4 years until we do it again.
And how about you, Mr. Weisbert? I suspect, given the size of your operation, things don't gear down, actually, right after the vote's over.
No, we have 3 weeks for an official canvass where we audit all the polling places and count the last-minute absentee ballots and do everything else we need to do to certify the election.
Well, I thank each of you. It's very interesting. You are the small, you are the large, and yet it's representative of the fact that there are literally hundreds of thousands of people who volunteer on Tuesday, who are out in the polling places working and supervising the vote, and it's a magnificent process overall, and we thank you both for being here as representative of what will happen then on Tuesday. Thank you both. It is now 16 minutes before the hour, the Perot factor and the Electoral College, when Good Morning America continues.
Spent the night tossing in bed. Said some things I shouldn't have said. Now the sunlight's breaking through. I put some coffee on for you. Can't help waking up. Oh, I smell that Folgers brew. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Mountain-grown beans, specially ground, now give Folgers richer aroma to help wake you up and light up your morning.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
You know, I can still remember the very first candy given to me by my grandfather. It was Werther's Original, and I was 4. I had a little trouble opening that shiny golden wrapper, but then, well, I'll never forget that first taste. Sweet and creamy and just plain good. But there was something else, too. I remember feeling I must be somebody very special when my grandpa gave me his wonderful butter candy. So, now I'm the grandfather. And what else would I give my little grandson but my Werther's Original? He's somebody special, too.
The latest vehicle from GM has no moving parts. It uses no gas. It's made entirely of plastic that turns into steel. The new GM MasterCard. Every time you use it, GM will credit 5% of your purchase toward a new car or truck from GM. That could mean hundreds, even thousands of dollars in savings over and above any other discounts or rebates. And there's no annual fee. The GM card, the new financial vehicle.
45 minutes after 7, we learned about it in civics class, but I think every 4 years we all need a little refresher course on the Electoral College. That is the 538 Americans who really elect the next president. And Hal Bruno, political director of ABC News, joins us to explain how it works and what impact Ross Perot may have this time around. Nice to have you back here.
Morning, Joan.
How does this whole thing work?
Okay, it was set up by the Founding Fathers who were trying to find a way to make sure that an election would be decisive. So after trying various things, they settled upon the Electoral College, so that when you had an election, if you had a lot of candidates, you'd be sure that one of them would clearly be able to be declared the winner. And they created this idea that for every member of Congress, plus your 2 senators, a state is given an electoral vote. So it's in proportion to the population. So California, which has 52 members of Congress now, plus 2 senators, gets 54 electoral votes. Nobody figured that 1/20th of the population would be living there.
That's right.
There was no California at the time they invented it. Anyhow, when you vote, you're actually voting for a slate of electors. In each state, the Republican or Democratic Party or an independent candidate puts up their slate of electors. So whoever wins a state takes all. It's winner take all.
Yeah, each state goes with 1 vote for one person.
Yeah, well, no, Well, no, not quite. Each state goes for the slate of electors. If you win a state by only 1 vote, you get all of them.
That's right. Okay, so it comes up with 1 person.
Yeah.
They say 270. 270, that's the magic number that you have to get in order to do this?
You got to get a majority of 538. There's 538 electors. 270 is the majority. Whoever gets 270 is the winner of the election.
So then which are the important states? Which are the key battlegrounds then?
Well, as it turns out, California.
Sure, obviously.
With 54, that's 1/20th of what you need. Texas, Florida are the next biggest. Then you've got New York, Illinois, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Exactly where the candidates are campaigning, incidentally, these days, is that strip across the Mid-Atlantic and Midwest.
Yeah, I've been hearing the Rust Belt that being the deciding little area.
Even though in recent years they've lost population, and it's places like California, Florida, and Texas have picked it up, still in all you have a cluster of electoral votes in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, that really count. This is where this election is in part being decided.
We've been hearing all morning that Ross Perot probably won't come up with a state. However, what effect might he have in a state like Texas?
Okay. In a state like Texas, Ross Perot, who will not win a single state, had a powerful effect. He's made that state competitive by taking votes, taking support away from the president and giving Governor Clinton a chance to come in there and be competitive. So Texas is a toss-up state today because Ross Perot was there.
We're hearing that Clinton has the most votes. What's the core of his support?
Well, he started out with a tremendous advantage in that California, Illinois, and New York, 3 of the biggest states, never were that competitive from the very beginning. The Bush campaign, in effect, gave up on those states very early on in the campaign. So that's 109 electoral votes that nobody was fighting for.
All right, and there's also a lot of votes that are being cast, of course, for Senate members, the Congress. Are we going to see the coattails? I mean, it used to be that people could go in on the coattails of whoever was winning in the presidential election, but has that changed?
Well, in some places, presidential coattails may help elect a senator, but there are some states where what the Senate candidate's getting, or the turnout that the Senate candidate's attracting, can help the presidential candidate.
The electoral vote, as I understand it, doesn't take place, what, till December 14th, right?
It's what is it, the first Tuesday or something after the election, yeah.
Well, once in a while, though, electors do change their mind, right? I mean, are they not supposed to? I mean, is it a given that they're not supposed to, but they can, and they have in the past?
Well, it depends upon the state. Now, in about half of the electors are in states, a little more than half, are in states in which they are bound. They're not supposed to change their mind. But the rest of them are in states where they're free to do what they want. Now, they're supposed to vote the way they were elected, you know. But then you have the case of the faithless elector, who decides that regardless, he's going to vote, he or she will vote the way they want.
9 chances out of 10 we end up with the same as the popular election. Only once has it been different, right?
Right.
All right. Hal, thanks, Hal. Clean energy source. The answer may be blown in the wind when Good Morning America continues after this from Mattel.
This is Scrutinized. It's a game where you find as many things that start with the same letter in pictures like these.
Football, a fountain, a flounder, a fan. No, just dry flounder.
It's also a game you'll really get into.
Pajamas, a Pomeranian. Vermeil, peak meat. A flash. There's a balloon. And a pants.
Ready for round 2?
Okay, now.
Honey, this is the flounder, okay?
Play scrutinized. 24 pictures, thousands of images.
Should have a classical egg.
Don't you think?
Yes, indeed it is.
Rich and human establishment.
Yes. Coffee is served. Yes, indeed they're rich. Colombian coffee. Excuse me.
100% Colombian coffee, hand-picked by Juan Valdez, the richest coffee in the world.
You'll find terrific savings this week at Walgreens.
Monistat 7 is on sale. Cream or inserts just $14.99. They're $11.99 after rebate. Carefree Panty Shields are only $1.29. They're free after rebate.
Auto-inflate or finger digital blood pressure monitors. Your choice, just $59.99. And save over 40% on personal optics reader glasses. Full or half frame, even bifocals, a $14 value, now only $7.99.
For the best values, hurry to Walgreens.
Remember,
and if you elect me president, you will be better off 4 years from now than you are today.
average family income down $1,600 in 2 years.
You will be better off 4 years from now than you are today.
Family health care costs up $1,800 in 4 years.
You will be better off 4 years.
The second biggest tax increase in history.
If you elect me president, you will be better off 4 years from now than you are today.
Well, it's 4 years later. How you doing?
There has not been much talk in this campaign about energy problems, but our science editor Michael Gillen reports today on new technological breakthroughs raising interest in one clean alternative energy source.
Ever since the energy crisis of the 1970s, scientists have been searching without much luck for that perfect energy source. Something clean, cut rate, and copious, like wind power.
Now, in the 90s, wind power is revving up in a big way. For two reasons. One, while winds can be very unpredictable, scientists have gotten very good at figuring them out. And two, windmill technology, such as you see behind me, is really taking off.
The wind changes time of day and time of year. The new technology responds to these changes almost instantaneously, thereby providing more efficient energy capture and lower economics.
Dale Osborne is president of U.S. Wind Power, the largest wind power company in the world, with turbines operating in Northern California, the wind power capital of the world. A little more than 1% of the electricity in Northern California is generated by forests of windmills, like these, 8,000 of them altogether.
Our new state-of-the-art 33-meter variable speed turbine. Each one of these turbines will produce enough energy annually to provide electricity for 140 to 150 California homes.
Windmills work best, of course, in places where there is a strong, steady wind, like here at the Altamont Pass in Northern California. This is what happens. The sun warms the inland air here, causing it to rise. Then cool air from the Pacific Ocean rushes in, making these windmills turn an average of about 7 hours a day. Even though California leads the country in wind power right now, other states are just as windy, if not windier. Theoretically, in fact, harvesting the wind from the Great Plains states alone would go a long way to powering the entire United States. There's only one hitch.
And the problem is taking that energy from that resource to where the people are located. And the problem is twofold. One is the economics of doing that, and the second is the construction of power lines and the opposition that much of the public has against that.
If engineers spend more time, and if utility companies spend more money perfecting the technology, then wind power could conceivably supply about 20% of this country's electricity by early next century. That would mean burning a lot less coal and importing a lot less oil. And that's not all.
Wind power plants emit no air emissions such as fossil power plants. And also they provide jobs for this country, not only in operating and maintaining the plant, but building plants for the rest of the world, because we right now lead the world in wind technology.
As questions about energy and the environment grow larger every day, one might recall the words of songwriter Bob Dylan. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind.
And of course, none of that takes into consideration the amount of wind generated in the campaign. It's 5 before the hour. We'll continue in just a moment.
This is it, the last week to call Nutrisystem and lose all the weight you can by Thanksgiving for free. I'm Lonnie Daniels, and now's your chance to make this Thanksgiving a real celebration. Just one call today, and by Thanksgiving, be well on your way to getting rid of those extra pounds. Let Nutrisystem help you. Just call. And this Thanksgiving, while you're trimming the turkey, you can be looking pretty trim yourself. Lose all the weight you can for free by Thanksgiving. Pay only for Nutrisystem meals. Call 1-800-321-THIN now.
Equality, an interesting word. Some people want me to pay more for my car insurance and life insurance, the same high rates that men pay. I cannot afford that kind of equality. The same people say I should have the right to marry a woman and my brother the right to marry a man. Equality? He's got to be kidding. This peculiar kind of equality is called ERA. They even threaten to take away my dad's veterans benefits because he's a man. If they pass the ERA in Iowa, these people will push for a national ERA to force women to go into military combat. That's some equality. Equal pay for equal work and equal opportunity. That's already the law in Iowa. But ERA is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't want that kind of equality because I already have real equality, and I won't let them take away our freedoms. On November 3rd, vote no on ERA.
Good Morning America is brought to you by Nutrisystem.
Still coming up this morning, an old friend comes to visit. Steve Bell, former Good Morning America news anchor, now a college professor. He and his students have been monitoring Campaign 92.
We'll be back. Hour number 2 coming up. Stay with us if you can.
A promotional fee paid by Continental with service to every major ski resort in Colorado and throughout the Rockies. Continental, one airline can make a difference.
The Vikings have beaten Chicago and hold the division lead. But the Bears are ready to fight back. They meet live on ABC's Monday Night Football.
It's the television event of the year. The story you only thought you knew.
Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5.
Motown presents a shocking look at music's most mysterious family, the Jacksons. Sunday, November 15th on ABC.
Oh, yeah.
Congressman Neil Smith has lived in Iowa his whole life, except for the time he spent in the military service and in college. He doesn't waste time blaming others because he's too busy working to make Iowa a better place for you and your family. Just look around and you'll see the education, small business, agriculture, and conservation developments he's created that have produced jobs and attracted industry to Iowa. A vote for Neil Smith is a vote for our future. Neil Smith, a fighter for Iowa.
How do you recognize a truly superior banana?
Just look for this famous portrait.
Chiquita bananas, quite possibly the world's perfect food.
Come on home, Central Iowa.
Each weekday at 11 on The Home Show, we'll help you improve your life with tips on everything from parenting to healthcare to creative cooking.
Then stay with Channel 5 for a look at the news and weather on Channel 5 News Midday Report at 11:30.
Stories.
He's over here screwing around with me.
Studs.
Yeah, that's me, all right.
Stars.
Oh, my God.
The laughs are always on Vicky.
Well, for heaven's sake.
Occasional rain and drizzle today, mixing with light snow.
Good morning, America. I'm Charles Gibson.
And I'm Joan Lunden. It is Monday, November 2nd. You've got about 24 more hours to decide, right?
Okay.
Who you're going to vote for. If you haven't decided yet, maybe you're still mystified by all the campaign rhetoric and promises. Perhaps you should look at the candidates' hidden agenda revealed by their body language this morning. The man who literally wrote the book on body language is going to size up the candidates. Right now we can size up the map for election eve weather.
That's true, Joan. Not looking very bright in some of the more populous northeastern states. Ahead in this half hour, we'll have a comprehensive look at the election day weather from coast to coast and border to border. Stay with us.
That's pretty lousy.
Yeah.
I was looking at that.
It sums it up in one word. Also this morning, someone very familiar to you, but with a different title than you might expect. Professor Steve Bell is here. The same Steve Bell who anchored the news here on Good Morning America for so many years is now teaching the news, not just reporting it. And lucky any student would be to be in his class. We will see how he and his students have been monitoring election coverage. Steve will be with us in this half hour. But leading the news at this hour, the final hours of Campaign 92. Mike Schneider with that story and the other news of the day. Mike?
Thank you, Charlie. Good morning, everybody. If you're a fan of presidential politics, today's your kind of day. If you're kind of fed up with this political marathon for the White House, you may want to go back to sleep for a while and not wake up until Wednesday. At any rate, Bush, Clinton, and Perot are all making their last-ditch efforts now to persuade the voters. And Mr. Bush and Mr. Clinton, that means a lot of traveling, nonstop virtually, from sunup to sundown, and in some cases beyond. First, we're going to check in with Ann Compton. She's where the first campaign stop of the day for Mr. Bush is already underway in Madison, New Jersey. Ann?
Mike, here in Madison, we're in Madison, New Jersey. The president just beginning the first of what will be a whole series of campaign trips across the United States, going all the way into his home state of Texas tonight. He is talking in each case basically to the choir. These are rabid Republican supporters of the president, and he is trying to get the message across to those who may not be committed supporters in any state to listen to him and to turn to the incumbent for safety. The president just now beginning to speak.
Win this election tomorrow. The pundits don't matter. These national pollsters who have been all over the field, they don't matter. What Governor Clinton doesn't understand, it is the people in that booth tomorrow that matter. They don't want somebody who's going to expand the American government. They want somebody like me who's going to expand the American dream and make life better for every young person here today.
And that's it, Mike. That is the hardcore of his message for the last 2 weeks and for the last 24 hours right up until the voting booths open. The president very anxious to have any wavering voters come his way because he's still convinced a lot of people don't make up their minds till they're getting into the voting booth. And in that case, he says, character is the issue that matters. Mike?
I guess he really can sense, though, how this campaign is different from all the others in that at this time in this campaign, to think that a Republican was going to have to work this hard to win New Jersey is showing something that's a little bit amiss in terms of the Republican strategy here.
Well, it's absolutely right. There are a lot of solid Republican states which are anything but solid this year, and that's why he's picking the states where he's going. He has to assemble just the right combination of electoral votes to beat the floor of 270 votes. So there's a careful, concentrated effort to get him today in New Jersey, where Clinton was last night, Pennsylvania, where Clinton is this morning, on through the Midwest like Ohio, and then into Kentucky and then Texas.
Okay, Ann, thank you very much. That's pretty much the way Hal Bruno had said months ago it was going to be from New Jersey West. Ann Compton live for us this morning in Madison, New Jersey. Now, if the Clinton campaign had a slogan for this last day of the campaign, it might be something like, head to the West and straight till morning. Clinton will drag his traveling press entourage over 3/4 of the country today before ending up where they began a little over a year ago, Little Rock, Arkansas. One member of the press corps, our own Ron Claiborne, spoke with us a short time ago from just outside Philadelphia.
The Clinton campaign is pretty confident right now of where they stand in the electoral map, but to reinforce that position, they're going to be traveling to 9 cities in a total of 8 states, a 24-hour blitz starting in Philadelphia, ending up in Colorado. What they'll be doing is telling voters their most basic message, that is that Bill Clinton is the agent of change, he represents change, and that George Bush is responsible for the ailing U.S. economy, and that his time has run out.
No worries about some of the late charges, the ROTC controversy that's erupted, no sense of concern about that?
I think there is some concern that it may play with the voters who are undecided or worried about Clinton, but they're hoping that at this point most voters have made up their minds that they're going to go with him, those who intend to go with him, and that they won't be shaken by these charges. Of course, nobody knows whether that will hold or not.
Give us a sense, though, of what it is like to be on the inside of this campaign as best as you can describe it, Ron. Are these people really all that certain about where this thing is going to end up right now?
As they tell it, and just looking at them, I think they're very confident that they have this thing locked up. Obviously, things can go wrong. Voters may not come around that they expect to come around. But looking at the electoral map, they believe they have a base which brings them very close to the 270 electoral votes that they need to win. And if they pick up just 1 or 2 states which are undecided or on the edge right now, that'll put them over. They feel very confident.
ABC's Ron Claiborne with the Clinton campaign this morning in Philadelphia. What about Ross Perot? Well, he unleashed a stinging attack on both of his presidential rivals. At rallies in California, Perot claimed that President Bush did not know that the U.S. economy was in a recession. And he said that Bill Clinton doesn't have enough experience to run this country. Here's more on what the criticism he dished out.
We left them in Vietnam. Do you believe that it's appropriate to have senior government officials who have used drugs? It's up to you. When you've got a man that doesn't know there's a recession in the country, he's responsible for running. When you and I know it and the newspapers have it in the headlines and he doesn't know it, I have to conclude this man does not understand business.
As for his campaign day, Ross Perot has a rally scheduled in Dallas, and he also has another one of his infomercials that will be running tonight on network television. Other news for you on this Monday morning, another Boeing 747 cargo jet has lost an engine. This time it happened heading into the airport in Luxembourg. One of the plane's wings scraped the ground as it was landing. The engine tore away. We're told nobody was hurt, but you might recall last month there was a similar Boeing accident. Another 747 lost 2 engines and crashed into an apartment complex in Amsterdam. Finally, back on the campaign one more time. Campaign 1992 about to be written into the history books, and federal election officials are totaling up the bill. The amount of money taxpayers have chipped in so that all the candidates can run their campaigns. You might want to sit down for this one. Turns out the total is $174 million. Most of it went to Bush and Clinton for the presidential campaigns they're running. It does not include Mr. Perot, who is using his own money, about $60 million so far, we're told, and it's not quite over yet. That's it for now, though. Let's check in with Charlie and Spencer.
It's just weekend pocket money, right? For some people, I guess. Thanks very much, Mike. 7 minutes after the hour, Spencer has the national weather forecast, and in particular, the weather for Election Day, what you can expect tomorrow when you get out to the polling places. And they always say turnout gets determined in some ways by the weather. Bad weather, obviously, people don't turn out in such numbers.
That's correct.
And I gather it isn't looking too good.
Not looking very promising in some of the northwestern states and the upper Midwest, where winter-like weather will continue, lots of snow. In the Northeast, heavy rain today and tonight, but it may taper off early enough tomorrow to allow for a bigger turnout. So let me show you what we expect today, Charlie. First of all, heavy snow in the upper Mississippi Valley and the eastern portion of the northern plains. Look for up to a foot of accumulation in some parts of Minnesota today, and northern Iowa is going to get a blast also. Rainfall today over much of the remainder of the northeast from the mid-Atlantic states southward down to the South Atlantic. Heavy rainfall today. Then sunny skies along much of the Gulf Coast, the lower Mississippi Valley into the southern plains and out to the southwest. Yet another snowstorm developing in the northwest today. This could affect, well, voter turnout, actually, tomorrow in the upper Midwest. Here's what we're looking for tomorrow from Billings, Montana, down to Denver, Colorado, back up to Duluth, Minnesota. This area will see about 2 to 4 inches of snowfall tomorrow. Generally, some locations could see more. In the east, a much more promising picture, a little path of rainfall from central southern Illinois. We don't expect heavy rainfall there, down to central Texas. In the northeast, though, look for heavy rainfall in eastern New England, in the easternmost areas of New England. But as you move westward and then southward, things will be clearing off for Election Day. So that's very encouraging for voter turnout. That's a look at the national weather picture. Here's a look at the weather where you are.
Good Monday morning, everybody. I'm Channel 5 meteorologist Rick Mitchell. An inclement weather weekend and more of it on the way thanks to an area of low pressure that is moving across the state today. Heavy snow will fall across Minnesota. For us, the rain and drizzle changing over to a little bit of light snow, but ground temperatures are warm enough that we shouldn't see accumulations. Temperatures starting the day in the 40s, falling to the 30s. The 5cast, rain and drizzle mixing with snow today, a high of 43, falling temps this afternoon.
Election Eve and Election Day weather in the next half hour. Joan?
All right, thank you, Spencer. Right now, almost 10 minutes after, from the candidates to the voters, there's been no shortage of critiques of media coverage of this campaign season. At Ball State University in Indiana, a group of students have made it their business to monitor the media for the last 2 months. It's in a course called Media and the Political Process. The teacher is none other than Steve Bell, formerly of ABC News and our own anchor here at Good Morning America.
Everyone.
And he is the Ball Professor of Telecommunications at Ball State. And he joins us this morning from the university in Muncie, along with 2 of his students, Brenda Michael and Tracy Ball. Nice to have you all here. Steve, hi. Everybody says hello.
Oh, hi, Joan, and hello to everybody from here.
This is a unique course. You want to tell us, I know you broke the students up into teams, and they monitor, what, different TV stations and newspapers?
No, actually, we have teams monitoring each of the network's evening newscasts, the New York Times. With us here today, Brenda is on the ABC team, and Tracy is on the New York Times team. So we're monitoring a variety of media sources, and we're analyzing how much of their total news hole goes to election coverage, how much to each candidate within that hole, and whether it's positive, negative, or neutral. And, of course, this is such a phenomenal, extraordinary election year for the use of the media by the candidates, so we're having a marvelous time.
Well, I want to get to that in a moment, but Brenda, President Bush has said that the media has not been fair in its reporting. What did all you students find out?
Well, I believe that they probably haven't been real fair, but not necessarily just to him, to more of the other candidates too, especially Perot since he's got back into the race. But you've got to figure that you get a lot of negative reporting for President Bush because the economy is so bad.
Tracy, you think that it's been a biased reporting year? We've seen so much more, of course, coverage with the new talk shows having access to the president and all the other candidates.
Right. I think that the variety of forms that the political candidates the variety of media forms the political candidates are using are both beneficial and non-beneficial to them. I think that we're going to see better informed voters as a result because the politicians are coming directly to your home, not only through the newscast, but as well as the entertainment programs and talk shows.
Steve, things have been so different this year. I think that election coverage probably will never, or the elections themselves will probably never be the same. Does it help or hurt the election process?
It's awfully hard to tell, but I think it has helped in the sense that something has energized voters this year, and I think it is the non-traditional use of media. I think the talk shows, for instance, give voters and viewers a sense of participation. Even if it's not your question the candidate's asking, it's a question from somebody like you. But I should get this in. While we have found a high degree of negative coverage of all three candidates, with Bush, on whose watch the economy has been poor, getting the highest negatives, nonetheless, I think all three evening newscasts, for instance, have more substance this year in their coverage, more analyzing of real issues than any time I can remember. So what's really happening is that viewers, voters, have so many more options out there, they're going to have to become very good consumers. It's out there. But better information's out there than ever before, but you have to be careful and you have to analyze it and you have to make your choices.
We probably haven't been analyzing it quite like all these students, though. Brenda, when you sit and analyze every word and you're trying to make a qualitative and a quantitative decision as to whether it's neutral or positive or negative, has this course changed your perception of the media, of the candidates, and the political process?
Well, it's changed my perception of the media and how difficult it is to cover all the aspects of a political campaign. And it's hard to make a decision as to what is set up for you to cover and what has really got a lot of substance. It's changed my views of the political process because before I was like everybody else, you know, I had my life to lead, so I didn't have a lot of time to really study what the politicians were saying and how they were saying it and how they were using media. And when I have to sit down and actually, like you say, go word by word, that it makes a big difference on how I view it now.
Tracy, did it change your idea of who you were going to vote for?
It didn't change who I was going to vote for, but I think it probably just reinforced. I think I have a better idea of the issues and of where each of the candidates stands. So it didn't change, but reinforced.
Gee, Steve, what are they going to study after the election? Your own little media lab's going to go away.
Well, we'll certainly lose the sense of presence live. It's happening right now, but all these teams now have to have their reports in. Friday of election week, their reports are all due in written form. Then each of the teams will be reporting to the class as a whole using media video examples as well. So we've got
They've got their work cut out for them.
Yes, they certainly do.
Tracy and Brendan, thank you both very much. Steve, great to see you again. Thanks.
Oh, great to see you, Joan.
The candidates' leanings and sittings and pointings translate their body language when Good Morning America continues.
For people with heart problems, life is something never taken for granted. But every year, thousands of patients of the Cardiac Center at Iowa Methodist are able to return to a normal schedule and a healthier lifestyle with the help of our skilled, caring staff. At Iowa Methodist, we treat our patients heart and soul.
The new baby was up all night. Now you gotta make the morning right. Folgers always come through. It's decaffeinated too.
Mountain Grown Folgers decaffeinated. It gives you something the other leading brand doesn't. Richer aroma to wake you up.
Now you're off to a great start, 'cause Folgers warmed your heart. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
For right around 10 grand, you can get a Dodge Shadow ES with a surprise option under the hood. One hot V6. And you know what that means, don't you? Sounds like another wild ride from Dodge. Available with or without a top. Before you vote, remember the record. Every year for the past 12 years, the Republicans tried to cut Medicare, and in 9 of those years, they've done it. And this year, they've proposed a plan that could lower benefits for nearly 30 million older Americans and virtually eliminate compensation for over 1 million disabled veterans. Medicare cuts, health care crisis, the worst economic record since the Great Depression. Senior citizens know better than anyone. It's time for a change, and that's what the New Democrats are fighting for. Social Security and quality, affordable health care.
Gloria Estefan, a big talent with a generous heart, in our next half hour.
18 past the hour now. Many analyze how the candidates stand on the issues. Our next guest has been analyzing how the candidates stand, period. Over 20 years ago, Julius Fast authored the book and coined the phrase body language. In this election year, he says you can learn a lot from the candidates through the nonverbal images that they present. And he's here to show us what he means. Good to see you. Good to have you here as always. It is interesting about this. I think everyone now knows what body language means and what it is. But what's fascinating to me is the candidates actually worry about it, don't
they? They worry about it tremendously. And they're trained. They have handlers who teach them how to stand, how to sit, and tell them what not to do and what to do. Because body language is an unconscious communication, and it's honest, more honest than the spoken word.
Well, that's the interesting thing to me. You have always said in the book, that it is an unconscious reflection of what you're feeling and thinking.
Except you can learn it.
Exactly.
And then it becomes dishonest. And, for example, one of the things that happens in body language, and nobody knows why, is the nose wipe. When somebody's going to say something outrageous or something they don't mean, they'll do that or that, just touch their nose. Nobody knows why they do it. But all the candidates' handlers know that this happens because it's been done before by candidates who promised to lower taxes and done that, who promised to do this or that and touch their nose. So they're told, don't do it, don't do it. And in spite of that, during the debates, 2 candidates did it.
Yes, well, let's go to the first one. We have a clip of President Bush. He was asked a question, I think it's in the first debate, about drugs, right?
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at that clip.
The use of cocaine, for example, by teenagers is dramatically down.
Now, that's interesting.
The use of cocaine by teenagers is dramatically down. Well, you know that's nonsense.
Well, actually, the numbers that I've seen indicate that it is true.
Well, it might be, but at any rate, there's something about the statement that is either not true or outrageous or affects him in some way that he gives that little nose wipe.
What was the second time?
And it's the only time during the entire debate he did it.
What was the second time?
I think it was Stockdale, who was telling a story about some friend in New York who had done something, and the story became very confused. And he did that.
We're never going to ever have any more commercials in this program. Never are we going to have any more commercials. Let me go to the pictures of Clinton. In the second debate, he was going up to the audience using a clenched fist a lot. We've got some pictures. as he did that. Is that learned behavior when he kept doing that?
Secondly, we ought to
Well,
have
I'm not
treatment
sure
on
with
demand.
Clinton whether it's learned behavior. This is an aggressive kind of thing. It's also an emphatic, I'm going to make this point kind of thing. And when Clinton does it, it's more for emphasis. I think when Bush does it, it's more aggressive. Or when Quayle did it.
Well, they've actually had to tone down, I understand, the president's hand gestures. But that was in the first debate, I think, that we were seeing Clinton do that. Also, Perot, second debate, there's a lot of hands on hips.
Well, this too
Perot.
is an aggressive, hey, you know, I'm a little guy and you can't push me around kind of thing.
And he was standing all the way during that second debate.
Well, this is a great picture because you have Perot talking at that point. Clinton is looking at him, and
they're looking away.
He's looking away. A lot of times during the debate, when something was going on, President Bush would look off to the side and grin. And usually the grin is a little bit lopsided. It's no fault of his own, but it sends a message of, hey guys, you know, look at those bozos. That kind of...
The Perot standing, in that second debate, I was talking that they had a stool that was too high for him. I didn't know that was...
Well, that's why he stood.
And he couldn't hop up on that.
No, he stood because it brought him on a level, more of a level with the other two guys. Tallness is dominance. If you're taller than someone, you dominate them. And to the viewer, it looks as if you're stronger.
The one thing I don't want to leave out, because it was, I think, the piece of body language that everybody remarked upon.
Oh, yes.
Second debate, Bush looking at his watch.
Yeah, I think that was a classic error. Because it just said, you know, I want to get out of here. That's what looking at you. Have you ever been to an interview with someone where they've glanced at their watch? It's a signal, I'm tired, let me get out of this. And doing it on a debate is just terrible.
Yeah. Too many times I've been in interviews when people are looking at their watch. Julius Fast, thank you. Our watch says that it's 23 minutes after. We'll go to commercial, and I thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
We'll be back.
Make your house a home with Family Time's easy rent-to-own. Family Time offers name-brand home electronics and furniture. Their friendly staff will listen to your needs to help you find just what you want. With several payment plans to choose from, you are sure to find one to fit your budget. No deposits, no credit check, no long-term obligation, and free service. It's easy to make your house a home when you go to Family Time Home Furnishings and rent-to-own at any of these 5 Central Iowa locations.
This is the heartland. It seems no matter where you go these days, your checkbook isn't far behind. At Metropolitan Federal, you'll find a checking account to help you manage your money and keep your life in balance. Metropolitan Federal, the Heartland's bank for checking.
Like those kicks, huh? Yeah, they're good. There's just one problem. What do you mean there's no candy in them? I know, but there is a problem. No, it's just good stuff.
Kix is a good cereal with a corn crunch that kids like. And Kix is low in sugar. That's what moms like.
See? I told you there's a problem. No problem for me.
Kix, kid-tested, mother-approved.
Bill Clinton's economic plan, endorsed by over 600 economists, including 10 Nobel Prize winners, as the best hope for reviving the nation's economy. More than 400 of America's most respected business leaders say the Clinton plan will create jobs. A panel of independent experts convened by Time magazine concludes that Clinton's plan has the best solutions to our economic problems. And now even the author of Ross Perot's plan has endorsed Bill Clinton for president. Let's get our economy moving again.
This is a Channel 5 News Update.
Good morning, I'm Renee Starzyk with this news update at 8:25. Iowans will get another glimpse of the nation's First Lady today. Barbara Bush plans to take to the streets in a Des Moines neighborhood this morning and pass out campaign literature. Some 200 people packed into the Marriott Hotel to see Mrs. Bush last night. The First Lady touched on all kinds of topics, including the economy, literacy, and the environment. Her main focus, of course, to pitch her husband for president.
It's the most fun in the world when you go around the country campaigning for the most decent, honest, able, capable, finest, funniest, most honorable man in the world, George Bush.
It's been a busy campaign season for Barbara Bush. The First Lady says she's visited 244 cities in 37 states since the New Hampshire primary. While the Republican pitch doesn't seem to be swaying Iowa voters, at least not according to the latest poll, the Des Moines Register finds Bill Clinton has added a little to his lead over President Bush. 41% of Iowans now back the Arkansas governor. 32% favor Mr. Bush. Ross Perot is in third with 19% of the vote. It wasn't exactly a great weekend to be outside, but the nasty weather didn't stop folks in one Des Moines neighborhood. They pitched in to spruce up a local park. Jackie Jarris has more.
The dreary day brightened when 19 trees were planted in Bates Park. Neighbors in the Riverbend community volunteered their time to put the project into motion. Trees Forever is a new program being implemented by the city of Des Moines in a restoration effort. This pilot project is the first of its kind in our area. Longtime resident of the Riverbend neighborhood, Dick Thomas, says he's delighted to see the new trees put in. He says the neighborhood was booming with Dutch elms near the 60s, and that's how he'd like to see it look again.
When the Dutch elm disease went through, it really wiped this neighborhood out of trees. Our street, 7th Street, used to have big elm trees on both sides all the way down. It was just shaded all over, and it took every one of them.
Over 100 people of all ages came out to help with the planting. Barry White is in 3rd grade and has been working hard all day. He says he's here to help the world become a better place to live in.
The reason why I want to come out here today is to help the environment grow with more trees that can be put into the world.
Organizers say they hope projects like this one will continue to grow. More tree plantings are scheduled for the spring. In Des Moines, Jackie Jarris, Channel 5 News.
Oh, you have to give those folks credit for braving the weather.
Have to give anybody credit for being out in that weather, and it doesn't get much better today. In fact, we've already got a little snow mixing in. 5cast is next, so stay with us.
Before you vote, remember the record. Every year for the past 12 years, the Republicans tried to cut Medicare, and in 9 of those years, they've done it. And this year, they've proposed a plan that could lower benefits for nearly 30 million older Americans and virtually eliminate compensation for over 1 million disabled veterans. Medicare cuts, health care crisis, the worst economic record since the Great Depression. Senior citizens know better than anyone. It's time for a change, and that's what the new Democrats are fighting for: Social Security and quality, affordable health care.
Yes, winter has arrived, at least in some sections of Iowa where light snow is falling this morning. In Des Moines right now, a mix of rain and occasionally a few flakes of snow. 37, Ames drizzle, and 36. The winds are from the west at 14, 92% humidity, and the pressure 29, 23, and rising. The storm system, which produced just an ugly weekend for us, is still around. In fact, by this afternoon, it's only going to be across northeastern Iowa. Heavy snow will fall across Minnesota today. As colder air works in, we will see our drizzle change over to a little bit of light snow, but because temperatures are still warm enough at the surface, we're not anticipating any accumulation, but it will be a downright nasty day with high temperatures in the 40s. Around here, we will see temperatures falling throughout the day into the 30s. The 5cast for Des Moines and vicinity: rain and drizzle mixing with snow. As I said, temperatures falling into the 30s. Winds will be northwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Tonight, cloudy, light snow or flurries, a low of 30. Once again, we're not talking about any type of accumulation or any travel problems, nothing like that. And tomorrow, for Election Day, cloudy and cold. Flurries are possible, high of only 36. The cold weather continues Wednesday and Thursday, maybe a little bit of snow on Wednesday. Thursday should be dry, but temperatures only 32 to 36 both days.
Not the best weather for Election Day, but get out and vote, right?
That's right.
Well, that's the news this Friday morning. We'll see you at 11:30 on the Midday Report.
Have a good morning. See you later.
You're watching Channel 5.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gloria Estefan, and from Miami, Florida, good morning, America. Get up, come on. Let's go.
Good morning, America. I'm Joan Lunden.
And I'm Charles Gibson. Good to have you with us. It is Monday, November 2nd. This is Good Morning America, the program on which there will be absolutely no discussion of the New York Giant-Washington Redskin game last night. You won't hear a word
What happened in that
about
game?
it. I don't remember. Skins took the night off.
Yeah. Well, the Jets pulled through there.
That's another game. The Jets won yesterday. Yeah,
that's
somebody gave a wake-up call to the New York football teams yesterday.
All right, well, better late than never,
Giants were
right? All right, you know her as an entertainer. You may also know that she's been helping the victims of Hurricane Andrew in her home state of Florida, but did you know that Gloria Estefan is also a UN ambassador. We are going to get that story from the lady herself in this half hour.
Also, if you watch this broadcast with any regularity, you probably know that we spend a good bit of time talking about women's health issues. For the last few months, a regular series on women's health issues. And today, interesting new guidelines for a screening test for mothers-to-be. And it's a test that could save their newborn babies from an often deadly bacterial infection. And we'll have news on that in a few moments. But let's go to Mike Schneider now with the news. And, of course, there's this election in the news, right, Mike?
Yeah, something about a vote, Charlie. This is it, the last day. If you like this stuff, you're in your element right now. If you don't, it'll be over soon. At any rate, George Bush and Bill Clinton off and running on the last campaign day of 1992, and they literally have miles to go before they sleep. For Mr. Bush, well, there you can see the schedule, a busy one at that. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kentucky, Louisiana, and ultimately back in his adopted hometown of Houston, Texas tonight. For Bill Clinton, an even busier day. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Missouri, Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, and he will end his day, actually, he'll go straight through this day and go on to Little Rock, Arkansas sometime tomorrow morning, an all-nighter, as it were. For Mr. Perot, he will be entertaining the troops in Dallas, Texas today, and back on television tonight with another infomercial. Now, what does it all mean? Where do they stand, and where do they go from here? ABC's Jim Wooten, live in our Washington bureau this morning. Impressions on this last day of Campaign 92, Jim?
Well, it strikes me that what we've done with the country in terms of all these polls that we've distributed, not only us, but the other networks and the newspapers as well, is probably to persuade a lot of American voters that this race is still changeable, that there are still things that the candidates can do. I'm not even sure that with all of this last-minute marathon on both Bush's part and Clinton's part, going halfway across the country, halfway back, staying up all night, and Perot spending another X millions of dollars tonight on television, I'm not sure that there's a lot out there to be changed.
What kind of campaign has it been, you know, in terms of the way political pros look at this? Has this been a particularly effective campaign for anyone, all of them, or has it been basically a battle to survive?
Well, you know, if you look, it's been a really weird election year, and if you look at the way it started back in New Hampshire, and you look at what the election is at this point, it's quite amazing in that the elections which generally change over the course of a campaign, this one hasn't changed. Back in New Hampshire, when Pat Buchanan challenged President Bush, the issue was taxes and can you trust George Bush because he said, read my lips, etc. So you get a challenge from the right wing of the Republican Party. It basically challenges what George Bush can and will do for the rest of the year. On the Democratic side, the issues are character and credibility. Those were, in New Hampshire was where Bill Clinton first faced these charges. Those issues for him have not changed all year long, so that now you come up to within less than 24 hours before the voting begins, and the election looks exactly the same. I think what has worked is that Bill Clinton recognized that there was a great deal of dissatisfaction, angst, and anxiety about the economy out there. He has capitalized on that to a great degree, and I think very skillfully, and worked the electoral map precisely as he should have.
So who's the average voter who's deciding this thing? If you could try to find a stereotypical American who seems to have, you know, some sort of representation of what this country wants and where it's going, who is that person?
I think, Michael, it's probably the Reagan Democrat is the typical voter this year. The voter who didn't like Jimmy Carter, Walter Mondale, or Mike Dukakis, who now thinks it's possible he may vote, he may go home to his old party and may vote for Bill Clinton. I think that's probably a typical phenomenon across the country.
And this time tomorrow morning, that person will be at the polls along with millions of others. Jim, thanks so much. ABC's Jim Wooten, live for us this morning in our Washington bureau. That's the news till now on this busy day before the vote. Spencer Christian standing by to update the weather for us. Spence?
Okay, Mike, I'm trying to recover my voice here. You'd think I've been out on the campaign trail. It's going to be quite cold and winter-like in the north central states today. Highs only in the 30s over a large portion of the northern plains, the upper Mississippi Valley, and the eastern slopes of the northern Rockies. Cool through the nation's midsection. The only mild to warm weather will be across the extreme southern states, where highs will range generally in the 70s and into the 80s in the desert southwest. Now, the outlook calls for a very active weather picture today, moving into Election Day, in fact. A new snowstorm developing in the the northern and central Rockies today. There will be rainfall down in the valleys. Over the next 24 hours, this system will start to push into the northern plains. There will be heavy snow in the northern plains today. In fact, moving into the upper Mississippi Valley, Minnesota, parts of Minnesota can expect about a foot of snowfall today. Then it's going to be rainy from there eastward across the Great Lakes into the northeast, and from the mid-Atlantic states southward, heavy rainfall with a chance of some rather powerful thunderstorms in the deep south. That's a look at the national weather. Here's a look at the weather where you are.
Good morning, everyone. Channel 5's Rick Mitchell with your Monday morning 5cast. We will have periods of rain and drizzle, gradually changing to a little bit of light snow. Temperatures starting out near 40 this morning, but falling into the 30s this afternoon.
This weather report has been brought to you by Vacuum Folgers. It's now 36.5 past the hour. A new test for a deadly disease in babies when Good Morning America continues.
Every morning, everywhere, when the sun wakes up the sky, let Folgers be there to open up your eyes. You're rich, soul, stirring you, nothing that aroma can do. Waking you and me, waking everyone in harmony. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Question is, can we win? Absolutely we can win because it's your country. Question really is, who do you want in the White House? It's that simple. Now, you got to stop letting these people tell you who to vote for. You got to stop letting these folks in the press tell you you're throwing your vote away. You got to start using your own head.
On November 3rd, don't waste your vote on traditional politicians who promise you everything to get elected. Vote for Ross Perot.
You know, boss man doesn't want to hear about, can't come to work today, I got a cold. No work, no pay. Contact, you take one of them, you're good for 12 hours. When you got a cold, well, you wake up in the morning, your head all stuffed up, your nose running down your face. Track dogs can't deal with that 4-hour cold medication. So you better take something that's going to get you down there working. I don't care if it rains, sleets, snows, you can't be a wimpy thing.
Contact, 12 hours of timed release maximum strength medicine. There's a whole day's work in every Contact.
Now, you can own the movie that charmed you.
Enchanté, chérie.
Enchanted you.
Who said anything about the castle being enchanted?
And delighted you.
One love for two.
Bring home the fun. Own the Academy Award-winning Beauty and the Beast on video cassette.
22 minutes now before 9 o'clock. It is the #1 cause of life-threatening infections in newborn babies, and yet few people know its name. The culprit is a bacteria. It is called Group B strep. And today, the American Academy of Pediatrics is calling for widespread screening in pregnant women. This morning, a special edition of The Healthy Woman, and we get the latest from Dr. Carol Baker, the principal author of the new guideline and chief of pediatric infectious diseases at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston. Good to have you here. I must admit, this is a new one on me. I don't know what it is.
Well, it's an interesting infection. It's the #1 killer of babies in the first 2 months of life due to infection, and yet no one's heard of it.
It is how common in newborns?
It occurs about 12,000 times a year in the United States. About 2,000 of these babies actually die, and another 2,000 are permanently brain injured.
When you say strep, the first thing, of course, I think of is strep throat. It is not related to that.
It is not related. It is a cousin microbiologically, but it's a different organism.
Okay. How does the newborn get it?
Many pregnant women, an estimated 15 to 35% of pregnant women carry this in the vagina or in the lower intestine. And it's a normal bacteria. It causes no symptoms. A woman wouldn't know that she's a carrier. And the guidelines of the American Academy of Pediatrics are recommending screening during pregnancy so that the carriers will be identified.
Well, now, obviously, you say 15 to 35% of women carry this. So obviously, it is not automatically conveyed, because you said there's 12,000 cases in newborns. So the percentage that of the babies that actually contracted is relatively small.
Very low, 1 to 2%. And the guidelines are aimed at finding that 1 to 2% of babies that are at risk.
All right, if you test the mother during pregnancy and you find that she carries this bacteria, what do? Do you treat it, even if there's a 1 or 2% chance that it'll be conveyed to the baby?
Not at that time. The recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics are for selective intervention. And
when do you decide that it's time to intervene?
At the end of pregnancy, actually, when the bag of water's ruptured and membrane's ruptured, or when labor begins, there are high risk factors. And I think you have a graphic, Charlie, on this that we
when
can
the high
look
risk
at.
factors occur, right?
Premature labor, that's more than 3 weeks before delivery. Premature rupture of the membranes, that's rupture of membranes before labor. Preterm premature rupture of the membranes.
Right.
Fever in the mother during labor.
Right.
Multiple births, that's more than one birth at this gestation, and history of GBS in a previous baby.
So what you're recommending is that mothers be screened during pregnancy, and then if those high risk factors occur, that the baby be treated at the time of birth, right?
We're actually recommending that the mother be treated at least 4 hours before delivery if possible.
I see. Is this now a normal part of screening? I mean, with a mother with a normal, going to the gynecologist, etc., and the obstetrician before birth, is this normally a part of the screening process that she goes through?
Some doctors are choosing to do this now, but certainly this is not universal, and we hope that the guidelines will encourage more screening and selective intervention.
All right. Thanks very much, Dr. Carol Baker. Good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
It is 18 before the hour. Gloria Estefan offering hope and help when Good Morning America continues.
Well, in a few days, you'll make your choice for President of the United States. And it's a serious choice. The most important democracy asks to make. There are many times that the president alone must make tough decisions that affect people's lives. He is the commander-in-chief, and I want you to think about that. He must have the resolve, the maturity, the moral authority to lead the nation in times of crisis. In the White House and the Oval Office, you cannot be on both sides of every issue. You must make the call, and you must lead. And that's what the American people expect from their president. Our economic future here at home depends more than ever on competing in a global economy, seizing new opportunities and opening new markets. And that's how we can create more jobs and economic strength. America must have a leader who understands the world and who's prepared to act. Leaders of other nations, people all over the world, judge America by the character of the president. And the president's word must be good. People around the world expect that of the United States. The person you choose to lead America must have certain qualities: decisiveness, honesty, integrity, consistency. All of you know that the presidency is the most serious job in the world, and we simply cannot put America's future at risk with a person who is wrong for the job and with policies that are wrong for America. When you make your choice, choose what's right for America. I need your support, and I ask for your vote.
Gloria Estefan says she'll never forget the outpouring of love and support following a bus crash 2.5 years ago that nearly left her paralyzed. And now she's returning that love to many of her supporters, her neighbors in South Florida, the victims of Hurricane Andrew. She's organized relief centers, she's raised $2 million in a special concert, and now her latest contribution can be found on her new release, Greatest Hits, Always Tomorrow, is a song of inspiration with royalties going to the hurricane relief effort.
But there's always tomorrow to start over again. Things will never stay the same. You only one sure thing is change. That's why there's always tomorrow.
And Gloria is here with me now. This seems like such a perfect song for them, but I know that you wrote this before, right? What did you write this for?
Yes, actually I wrote it for the movie Hero, and it didn't get on.
Hoffman.
Yes, it didn't get on the movie, and I thought, I'm going to save this for a special occasion because it's one of my favorite songs that I'd written. You know, the funny thing is, for 3 weeks while I was recording this song, I was out in my courtyard trying to sample this wind sound that I heard one night that came in, and I wanted it so badly. I never got it. I had to mix a song, and then the wind came with a...
Boy, did the wind come in, though. Yeah. Now, your place wasn't... You're right there. I mean, but your place wasn't damaged?
Right. We were on the beach. We were very fortunate. The beach really came by.
You saw lost some trees, that's all?
Yeah, some shingles. You know, I don't even like to complain about it. It's really minimal.
But are people are they able to find homes? I mean, can you get an apartment down there?
It's very tough. And unfortunately, you know, some people are getting gouged in prices because there's nowhere to go. So that part is tough, but hopefully things will get better and better as people start rebuilding their homes and fixing them up, and it'll be a long process.
Yeah, our heart goes out to everybody down there, but you're really trying to do something to change it. I know you're here, though, in New York City because you are a UN ambassador. You want to explain how did you get to, there are what, 4 public citizens on the UN?
There's 4 public delegates. Yes, actually, the U.S. is the only country that has this. We have public delegates which supposedly bring kind of like a non-foreign service or career diplomatic feeling to the delegation. And it's a presidential appointment. You have to be approved by the Senate and go through extensive searches.
Will you get a chance to speak?
Actually, I already gave a statement for the United States on crime, of all things. But I'm really looking forward to being very hands-on with the human rights issues that'll be coming up this year, and that'll be the end of November, mid-November.
A little nervous when you get up there? I mean, you're used to being in front of huge crowds, but still,
I know.
It's, you know.
No, it was funny to me because everybody's saying, are you nervous? Are you nervous? I mean, this is like a 2-paragraph thing that I said. It really, after you get up in front of thousands of people and have to do 2 hours and really ad-lib a lot of things, it was fun. It's very interesting and quite a learning experience. I think as a human being, I'm learning so much, you know.
You came here to this country, I think, when you were about 2 years old.
2 years old.
From Cuba. And I read where you recently learned that there was somebody in Cuba who was listening to your music, and Fidel Castro's secret police came in, I don't know, confiscated the music, and he was beaten. Why is your music considered subversive there?
You know, I used to be considered subversive even when we just did the conga, which I thought was ludicrous, but well, I think it was mainly my image as a successful Cuban exile that was the problem. That didn't go well with what they told people that Cubans were going through. But the song that they were listening to, which was Oye Mi Canto, and this is an artist that defected. I saw him in a country, I don't want to get into specifics because I don't want to get him in trouble, but they were listening to that song, which is all about freedom of speech. And when I wrote it, I very specifically had them in mind. So in a way, I was glad that they had listened and they were really taking the message of this song, but at the same time, it hurt me to know that someone was being hurt because of my music. So
well, I read where your dad, I think, fought in the Bay of Pigs. Do you kind of feel in a way that your music can carry on his work, or?
It's kind of poetic justice to me. You know, my father dedicated his life and eventually lost it for freedom, and not just in Cuba, but he also volunteered to Vietnam. He was a very idealistic man, maybe a little too much. And it's kind of fun for me to, in some way, in some small way, be contributing an extension of his role. And it's a great way that we artists, I think, to be able to touch people. It's a great way to have your music mean something. So,
all right. Well, the Greatest Hits album coming out now. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, too. Thanks.
And Good Morning America continues in just a moment.
A grapefruit drink that's actually sweet? Yeah, Ocean Spray Ruby Red grapefruit juice drink. It's got a sweet taste that's really different. If this is grapefruit juice, this is sweeter Ruby Red. Surprisingly sweet Ocean Spray Ruby Red.
Ross Perot, on voting your conscience.
If you want to rebuild the job base, let your vote say so. If you want a government that comes from the people instead of at the people, let your vote say so. If you want to reduce our $4 trillion national debt, let your vote say so. Look at the issues, look at the facts, look at all 3 candidates, and then vote your conscience.
Ross Perot for president.
The power of gold is the power to clean. Eureka Powerline. New 8.5 big amps. Attachments on board to clean anywhere. Traps the dirt, keeps it here. New Powerline by Eureka.
This year, one congressman has led the Iowa delegation in a number of important areas. Jim Ross Lightfoot spent more tax dollars on his office expenses than any other Iowa congressman. Jim Ross Lightfoot spent $239,000 tax dollars on mailings, worse than any other Iowa congressman. Jim Ross Lightfoot bounced 100 more checks than any other Iowa congressman. Jim Ross Lightfoot is a leader, It's just in the wrong direction.
Treat your home to new carpeting and save at Menards. Diamond Mills Jackpot Carpeting is on sale for just $5.99 a square yard. Florentine with stain-free guarantee is only $9.88 a square yard. And create your own attractive and useful shelving with door-file shelving systems. These 8x24-inch shelves are on sale for just $1.97. Remember Menards for all your home improvements.
Save big money at Menards.
Hi, I'm Chantal, standing in the hallway of the White House. Well, not exactly the real White House, but it looks pretty good to me. This is a Hollywood duplicate where the President and First Lady are not George and Barbara, but they are Kevin and Sigourney. Join me for a very special tour of this White House. That's tomorrow, right here on Good Morning America.
Well, it wasn't just the Oval Office. Somebody sneaked in the cabinet room there as well in that set. You may have heard in the 8 o'clock news, Mike Schneider was mentioning that the total amount of public money that was spent on this election campaign, and as you know, this election campaign has now gone on for 71 years, as we mentioned earlier, $173.7 million.
Isn't that amazing?
It's a lot of money.
And that you add to that, now that's the public money that was spent. Actually, Bill Clinton got a little bit more. That's because he got more matching grants in the primary season. Right. But one thing I didn't know when I saw the breakdowns, and I'm amazed, but this is news to me, I didn't realize that through those federal funds, they pay for the conventions. I thought the parties paid for the conventions.
And the confetti, I didn't realize either. I also thought it was the parties, but we're paying for all that confetti and all those balloons.
That's right.
Else.
The federal funds, the public funds, underwrite the conventions. $11,048,000 given to each of the two parties for their conventions.
Well, if we didn't, special interests probably would. So.
Well, that election tab, though, could have bought for us more than 1,100 large single-family homes. That's averaging them at about 150,000. It could have fostered a 10% increase in the Head Start education program. Now, they also have a few other things in here. It also could have bought 4,000 new top-of-the-line Cadillacs or 340 Patriot anti-ballistic missiles.
Well, you can do that. Take that money and figure out what you could have bought with it. But I think in the long run, it's
money well spent.
It's money well spent and a good investment.
We have to know how to make our choices.
That's right. Yeah. Also, interesting enough, you know, you have that little check off in your taxes where you can check off and put some money into the fund, and fewer people are checking off. I think that's a
well, maybe if
mistake.
they cut down on the confetti, you know, more people would.
And one more check on the weather tomorrow.
Well, yeah, Election Day weather map, we have one for you. It's not going to be a great day over the entire country. Sunny skies across the southern tier of states, but it's going to be rainy in the east. And this is today's map. It's not going to look anything like that tomorrow.
Forget it. Those little stars, they're out of there.
It's going to be wet in eastern New England tomorrow, but when you go westward just a bit, rainfall tapers off, and by midday, it should be a pretty decent day for anyone in the northeastern populous states to get out and vote. But in the north central states, look at the northern plains there, the northern Rockies, it's going to be very snowy and windy and cold, and that, of course, might
affect the
voter turnout, yeah.
No excuse, though.
Yeah.
You can't use the weather as an excuse.
Path of rainfall, by the way, coming down from the Great Lakes through the mid-Mississippi Valley. That won't amount to much. Yeah, that won't amount to much.
We're going to make you turn out tomorrow. That's something that you have to do. There's been a steady deterioration of the percentage of people who vote. Some indications that the percentage of voting public will be up considerably this time.
Well, let's hope so.
Hope that's the case.
Yeah.
It is 6 before the hour. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is it, the last week to call Nutrisystem and lose all the weight you can by Thanksgiving for free. I'm Lonnie Daniels, and now's your chance to make this Thanksgiving a real celebration. Just one call today, and by Thanksgiving, be well on your way to getting rid of those extra pounds. Let Nutrisystem help you. Just call. And this Thanksgiving, while you're trimming the turkey, you can be looking pretty trim yourself. Lose all the weight you can for free by Thanksgiving. Pay only for Nutrisystem meals. Call 1-800-321-THIN now.
Don't decide who to vote for tomorrow until you hear what Ross Perot has to say tonight. He'll change politics forever at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central on ABC.
Now there are dress shoes with the cushioning of athletic shoes. Easy Spirit pumps, now in sleek new styles and colors for fall. Easy Spirit. Looks like a pump, feels like a sneaker.
You'll find terrific savings this week at Walgreens.
Monostat 7 is on sale. Cream or inserts just $14.99. They're $11.99 after rebate. Carefree Panty Shields are only $1.29. They're free after rebate.
Auto-inflate or finger digital blood pressure monitors. Your choice, just $59.99. And save over 40% on personal optics reader glasses. Full or half frame, even bifocals, a $14 value, now only $7.99.
For the best values, hurry to Walgreens.
Barbara packed a lunch pail and hot coffee, and yeah, I punched the time clock. In March of 1971, I was laid off. I voted against the 1990 tax increase. You can't raise taxes high enough to satisfy the appetite of Congress to spend money. We got to change the whole way the game is played if we're going to get the deficit under control. And raising taxes is the last thing you ever want to do, and we can't let it happen.
Good Morning America is brought to you by Mountain Grown Folgers Coffee.
All right, later today I'm headed out to the Meadowlands. I'll be doing a piece on the National Horse Show, which starts tomorrow. A little behind the scenes to find out what goes on and get those horses to do all those extraordinary things. And of course, tomorrow this thing finally ends. Tomorrow's election day. Peter Jennings is going to help us preview how you can find out who won races that you care about.
I don't know why you sound so anxious about all that.
It seems like it's gone on for a long time.
Right next to us is the election night set, and we're going to give you a tour of it tomorrow. It is amazing.
Yeah.
What we do and the other networks do just for
all
one
the computers
night.
And everything.
The toys.
One very long night.
That's right. We're also going to check in on some of the key voting precincts as the polls will be opening tomorrow morning, and we'll get a unique tour of the mock White House with Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver.
So from all of us at Good Morning America, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
For a printed copy of this or any edition of Good Morning America, send $5 to Journal Graphics, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203. Joan London's wardrobe provided by Lily Rubin.
Good Morning America, in our third year of being #1 for news and information in the morning.
Come on, Ma, give it a rest. I'm doing homework like you should be. I thought the whole reason to get out of school is so you'll never have to do homework again.
I could look at it that way, but then I'd be stuck in the same job all my life doing the same thing. It's not what I want.
So what do you want?
Something better.
It's as simple as ABC. Never stop learning.
I'm Gary Collins.
Oh, and I'm Sarah Purcell.
Look what's new at home for you.
Everything that you need to know.
It's surprising. It's fun.
That's obscene. Get out of here.
Join Gary Collins and Sarah Purcell weekdays.
It's the hottest thing going.
It's better than ever.
Come on home.
I can't live without you. I have to.
She traveled across the world to forget the one man she truly loved.
I have never stopped loving you. You know that.
Journey to the heart of Budapest and the soul of Erica Kane. Destiny on the Danube, All My Children.
In 12 years, Charles Grassley and his staff cost us $12 million. And we got these 12 laws for our money. It's no wonder he's spending millions to spread all those vicious lies about Gene Lloyd Jones. He can't get the job done in Washington. He may brag about his attendance record, but watch out. He's failing Iowa.
Why lock yourself into a health plan where you never know how much you're going to pay to visit the doctor? Come over to HMO Iowa. Member the Principal Financial Group.
At Christmas time, I couldn't think of a better gift than a photo from Glamour Shot. A lot goes into these photos. The talent of the makeup artist, the professionalism of the photographer. It was wonderful to get to see the pictures right after we had just shot them. Glamorous looks, casual looks. It was all there to be tried, and I tried them all and had fun.
Early Christmas shopper special. Save $10 on a makeover photo session at Glamour Shot.
Occasional rain and drizzle today mixing with light snow.